This video is sponsored by YC Sports. Okay, as you can see, today we have lots of Yonex Badminton strings in front of us, so I'm going to give you quite an introduction of what they are, and we're going to split them into different categories, and then I'll go through each of them and tell you how they feel, and lastly we will also feel and hear how they sound at 24 and 30 pounds in tension. So strings, badminton strings comes in two types of traditional packaging. So the first one would be your usual pack, and this would be for 10 meters. 10 meters would be enough for one single racket, or they would come in packs or of reels, I guess. And these reels typically come in 200 meters, which most stringers would have, and they'll be able to string 20 to sometimes 22 rackets depending on how they use their string. We also have a hybrid, an official pack of hybrid string with us, so the Yonex Aerobite and Aerobite Boost from here. So they are a mixture of string, so you have different strings for your mains and your crosses, and so Yonex also have them in a reel as well. So they also come in different strings, as you can see, different colors, red and white. So Yonex Badminton strings comes in 4 typical major categories. So as you can see here, you have durability, repulsion power, hitting sound, and control. And so all of them are separated into different categories, and then they do have similarities. So for example, I would consider BG80 as a type of control type of string, but it also has very good repulsion power feel, very crisp, and that's why I believe perhaps they put in the repulsion section. BG68Ti, this is a really old string for hitting power, for hitting sound. However, nowadays any thin string would have an amazing hitting sound, and plus if you hit it right, they always sound good anyway, so I'm not sure. But hitting sound is a really old category. They don't add new strings into that category anymore. Control is Yonex's latest availability in terms of category, and so for example Aerobite, Aerobite Boost, even Nanogy 99, as well as the Skyarc. These are all newer strings in comparison to, say, the old school legends like BG80, BG65Ti. Okay, so now that we've known the 4 categories, I'm gonna start with the durability category and then we'll go through them one by one there. So in terms of durability, we have these 3 here. So these 2 are long-standing 65 and 65Ti are really long-standing strings. They have been around for ages and they're really popular worldwide. Nanogy 95 is a slightly more modern string. I think it came out at the same time as around the Arc Sabers, but still super popular, very durable. These 3 are absolutely true to their word. They are extremely durable strings. If you're all out durability, go for these guys. But also at the same time, in terms of packaging, you can actually tell that here on BG65 and 65Ti, you know, you have the soft feeling, medium feeling, and hard feeling. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna cut these packs open and tell you how they feel. So behind every string pack, you can actually see this, there is a ratings star, besides explaining a little bit of explanation about what category they are as well as what it specializes in. So for example, in terms of BG65, you can see that it's specializing in durability, unsurprisingly, but then it doesn't have a lot of control or a lot of repulsion power, including shock absorption. So this is really a standard, bog standard durability type of string. Whereas if you look at the Nanogy 95, you can see that there's a lot of repulsion power. Well, there's a lot more in comparison to the BG65 in terms of this rating star, but also having good amount of durability. And here, in comparison to the 65, the 65Ti has a bit more repulsion power and also slightly better hitting sound, I guess, but is really poor in control. Okay, so we start with looking at BG65, and now that I've cut the string out of the pack, and as a stringer you can feel that BG65 is quite smooth on the top. It doesn't, on the texture of the string is actually quite smooth. It doesn't have a lot of texture, nor it is sticky. So it's actually quite nice to string with, and yes, the string is 0.7 mil, so it's pretty thick in modern badminton string terms. In terms of hitting feel, yes, this thing is actually quite soft. It feels quite soft. It doesn't have that very crisp feeling until you get it to really high tensions. However, it is a very durable string. So what I'm going to do now is put a side of the string on the stringing machine and test them at 24 and 30 pounds in tension, and so then strum it so you guys can listen and hear what the string sounds like. We go to its cousin, the BG65Ti. BG65Ti is very popular with the professionals. BG65 feels a lot harder, so it feels a lot crisper than BG65. Also at the same time, they are extremely durable, so they're really good. So consistent at high tension. That's actually what I wanted to say. Slightly a bit more texture in comparison to 65. It feels quite crisp. Still very nice, very easy string to string with. Absolutely no problem in terms of a stringer's perspective. Okay, we now go on to probably the more premium version for the premium string for the durability section, the Nanogy 95. Nanogy 95, I used to play with it a fair bit, and I found that it's a slippery string, however very, very durable. So on that sense, it actually is not too bad. So like I mentioned before, the Nanogy 95, although from here you can feel that it's got quite similar textures to the 65Ti, but when playing it's really slippery. It sounds a lot better than the 65, somewhat maybe perhaps similar to the 65Ti at certain tensions, slightly higher tensions, but in terms of durability, this thing is absolutely amazing. So if you want a super durable string, but you don't mind it being quite slippery, this is amazing. So the next string type that I like to talk about is the Repulsion Power. So here you can actually see we have 6. This is, so the Exbolt 63 is the latest packaging type in terms of repulsion strings, and here it actually says it's quick repulsion instead of repulsion only, but that's okay. And here it also says that it uses bio-based materials for its packaging, so I guess that's a win in terms of plastic waste. And here you can actually see that we have quite a few BG66 strings. Let's split the BG66s in comparison to the rest of the group, because the rest of the group do feel quite different to them. So let's open up and see how they feel. So BG66 Ultimax, I string it a lot. It is quite slippery in terms of play and feel, but it is one of the more popular strings that I go through. Texture wise, it's smooth, it's pretty smooth. It has a little bits of texture. You can actually see that it has some texture. In terms of feel, it feels very, very pingy. It doesn't feel very hard, so medium feeling is actually on point. Slightly more slippery than most of the strings, but they sound absolutely amazing. And if you string them at decent tension and you hit hard and with clean technique, they will sound absolutely amazing. So immediately they both have the same diameter again. So here in terms of texture and feeling right out the pack, this is smoother than the 66 Ultimax. This one has slightly bit more texture in comparison to the 66 Force. Personally, I don't feel like there's a lot of difference between these two. So if you're someone who likes high repulsion string, this is an amazing option to go for. Find whichever one that is cheapest for you, wherever you are. They're both very, very good options. So if we then go to the normal 66, look at the amazing color again from here. Hopefully you can see this from the top-down cam. This is an amazing color, if only they do it in a reel. Yeah, so this color is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it. In terms of texture, again, so it's a bit more similar to the Ultimax, but I would also consider the string to be quite smooth. Okay, so now if we move these 3 up, and then we go with the rest of the quick repulsion crew here. Let's start with the legendary BG80. So BG80 is slightly thicker than the 66 and Ultimaxes. And then we have the new kid on the block, which is the Exbolt 63, thinnest out of the block. And then we have this guy, which launched about the same time as the Nanogy 95. This was my previous favorite string for a long time. I went through a lot of it. I'll talk about it later on. Let's start with the OG Legend BG80. So BG80, rough string, a lot of texture, a lot of bite, steady, and decent repulsion power as well. So that's why super popular, super famous worldwide. Yep, immediately, super nice bright yellow color in this one. You take it out and yes, you can feel there's a lot of texture in comparison to the rest of them. So far we've gone through, this is our 7th string so far, and this one by far has the most texture. BG80 certainly a lot stiffer than the thinner strings, and yeah, it feels steady, it's got lots of texture, it's got lots of bite onto the shuttle, sounds good, sounds actually quite good for a 0.68 string, very crisp, and it has that pop. Okay, so Exbolt 63, the latest kid on the block. I think it was launched 2020 or 2021. Thinnest so far, excluding Aerosonic. So Aerosonic is 0.61. This is 0.63. So super repulsive. So let's tear that string off. Again, if you want to check out the dedicated string review that I've done for this one, go check it out here. Okay, so as soon as we open up the string pack, the first thing we have, again, super nice color. I love yellow strings, so they feel good. So yes, again, this is very smooth. So it doesn't, so in terms of a string texture straight out the pack, in comparison to BG80, you can actually feel, I don't know if you can hear, this is the Exbolt 63. Yeah, so it's a lot smoother. It does have texture, it's just very fine. Again, as I mentioned previously, this thing is super repulsive. So that means it's a good repulsive string. However, I do find that it's a bit stiff. So it has a lot more stiffness to it compared to the BG66 Ultimax, which has a bit more give and a bit more softness to it, especially off-center shots. I find it quite demanding. However, it sounds amazing. And yeah, the repulsion side of things is absolutely amazing. But one thing that really stood out for me was how durable this string is. We now go to Nanogy 98. Let's start with the pros for now. So in terms of pros, this string, when it first launched, sounds absolutely amazing and it feels incredible. It is so pingy, you know, like it has a lot of high-pitched ping sounds to it. Again, it's slippery, perhaps because of the carbon nanotubes, but it sounds absolutely amazing. It feels, again, medium feeling, which is good for me. Again, I would say it's at 6.75. I would put it a touch stiffer than the Ultimax, only a touch, not a lot more. However, one issue is durability. So here it says its durability isn't too bad, but durability was an issue for me. You would break this so easy. So the next category that we have is the control category, and this is the latest category that we have. With that, let me take a breather and thank today's video sponsor, YC Sports. YC Sports is a racket sports specialist store based in the UK, but delivering worldwide. They are launching a new t-shirt customizing service which allow you guys to customize your own Yonex brand teamwear. There are a wide range of color combinations and design patterns for you to choose from, and you can also add your own logo design and text to create your perfect t-shirts that truly represent your club, team, school, or organization. All the printing is embedded into the fabric, so you don't have to worry about any printing peeling off after a wash. I've been wearing some of my custom t-shirts in my videos recently and I absolutely love them. Just head on to the kit builder, link in the description below, and have some fun playing around and have your very own teamwear delivered to your doorstep. Don't forget to use my discount code CKYW for additional discounts for all the latest badminton gear and equipment from YC Sports. Thank you again to YC Sports for sponsoring today's video. Obviously here we have my favorite string, my current favorite string, the Aerobite, and then we move on to the Aerobite Boost before finishing with Skyarc. There's a missing string here, which is the Nanogy 99. I couldn't get hold of any. And here my Skyarc pack has been opened and strung as well. So I've personally not played with Skyarc before, so I can only tell you the texture feeling of that string for this time. Okay, so as you all know, Aerobite is my favorite string of choice. And there's a reason why. I really like the control you get out of it. It really bites onto the shuttle. The string really bites onto the shuttle. And all of it comes from this main string. And the thing that makes Aerobite great is the mains, how sticky it is. Look at it, so like I can't really even pull it out without it sticking on itself. This main string is really sticky and it bites onto the grommets as well as your shuttle really well. In terms of stringing, Aerobite is one of the worst strings to string with because they're so grippy. But for playing, personally for me, I really absolutely love it. However, for the second half, the cross of the Aerobite, which is Aerosonic. Aerosonic is one of the smoothest string. It feels very similar, I feel, to the Nanogy 98. It's really not a lot of texture going on, very super smooth, and it's super fine. So super high repulsion power, and I think this is why they balance out really well. So in terms of differences in diameter, it's 0.67 and 0.61, and again, medium feeling. It is medium, but it's slightly, I would say, medium stiff. It is stiffer than BG66 Ultimax. It is stiffer than the Nanogy 98. I would say it's a step down in comparison to BG80. I would say this is maybe like 8.5. Yep. So this, the white one will be Aerosonic, the green will be the main. And so we now go to Aerobite Boost. I've tried Aerobite Boost a few times and the initial impressions for me weren't very good. And so again, it comes in two separate strings, and again, the thinner one is again Aerosonic, and Aerobite Boost only comes in also limited colors. Perhaps it's really hard to make the mains. And so I remember stringing the Aerobite Boost, and this guy is also very sticky. I would say even more sticky than the main Aerobite. But you can feel it's thicker, and this is correct here as well. So here it says it's 0.72 instead of 0.67, and maybe that's why I felt that it was a bit soft. Thicker strings sometimes do feel softer, although here it says it's hard feeling string, and sometimes thicker strings do feel softer, but because of that slightly lack of repulsion, immediate repulsion off the string bed. Skyarc, unfortunately I've not used Skyarc before, but when I was stringing it very early on recently, there is a texture, but then it's quite a big bump in terms of texture. It is quite bumpy in some way. Apparently this is supposed to be like a super high-end beginner string, so it should really help people who are struggling to clear the shuttle back to back with super high repulsive flexible string. But yeah, this is super stretchy as well. So this is what I remembered from stringing the Skyarc. I've yet to test the string personally, but in terms of stringing, I can feel that it's got bumpy texture, not quite close together, but you can feel it on your fingers when you run it through, and it is very stretchy. Skyarc. So, yep, so the missing string here is Nanogy 99, and Nanogy 99 reminds me of a very steady string actually, and it feels quite good as well. It doesn't bite onto the shuttle as Aerobite does, but at the same time it is also nowhere near as thin as the Ultimaxes or even the Aerosonics. It is actually quite thick, but for a thick string it has quite a lot of bite to the shuttle and it feels very steady. From experience, the Nanogy 99, it bites onto the string really well. It's just steady. I find it steady. The feeling of the string isn't very hard as well, so I would say perhaps I put it quite similar to the Aerobite, but also maybe just a touch softer compared to the Aerobite. I would put it at maybe 7.75 in terms of 10 out of 10. The last string that we have today is the Hitting Sound. Hitting Sound is a relatively old category that Yonex hasn't been releasing new strings for. Other strings that I remember being in this category is the BG85 as well as BG66 Sharp, which is famous because Lee Chong-wei uses it exclusively for a long time. I do remember the string, again like I said, feels quite soft. Let's have a feel at the texture. So BG68Ti, straight out of the pack you can feel that there's quite a lot of texture on the string. It does feel softer in comparison to the rest of the pack, but that shouldn't explain why it's soft feeling. But yes, it does feel soft when you're playing and hitting, but I'm quite surprised it does break fairly easily, at least in my experience. Obviously the other strings, BG85, I remember is a hard feeling string, crisp, very crisp. I've not played with one for a long time, and obviously we can't get any of them now. Hope this gives you guys a good introduction to the world of Yonex Badminton strings. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next one.